You can invest in real estate with no money, no credit, and no risk if you know what you're doing. And if you don't believe me that you can do that, you're going to want to watch this video, because I'm going to explain how to invest in real estate, how to wholesale real estate with no money, no credit, and no risk. Wholesaling real estate is a great place for new beginner investors to start, because all it really requires is hard work. If you're willing to work hard and you don't want to have any money, any credit, or any risk in a deal, wholesaling's a great place to start. So let's get started on that now. I'm gonna go back and check those off as I prove to you that there's no money, no credit, and no risk involved in wholesaling real estate. You probably know what wholesaling is. If you don't, it's selling contracts. It's getting a property under contract on paper and selling that contract and making money and charging money to sell that contract. I'm gonna explain it on the whiteboard here though, probably in a way that you've never heard it before. If you are doing a real estate transaction of any kind, you're gonna start with a distressed property, you're gonna make it nice, you're gonna fix it up, and then you're gonna sell it or rent it for profit, for money. This is every real estate deal. Distressed, repair, and then you sell it or rent it. When you're wholesaling real estate the way that we teach people to do it, you're living inside the transaction where there is no money, credit, or risk needed. Let's walk through an example deal. So let's say you find a property that you can buy, a distressed property, for $150,000. You talked to the seller, you negotiated, you went back and forth, and you got it under contract for $150,000, and day one of the contract starts today. And let's say you have a 45-day close. Again, pretty standard. What you're going to do to get this ball rolling is you're going to start out with a 10-day contingency on the contract, meaning if in 10 days you don't have the property sold, it's not a deal, you can morally, ethically, and legally back out of that contract without paying any money, any damages, and they can't go after you for anything. Now, before you think that sounds too good to be true, contingencies are in 90-something% of real estate deals. If you own a personal house, you bought that house with contingencies. There was a financial contingency, the bank had to underwrite and approve the loan. There was probably an inspection contingency. You probably paid someone who is a professional inspector to go into the property and inspect it. The sale was contingent upon that. There was probably some type of appraisal contingency, meaning it had to appraise for a certain amount for the bank to give you a certain amount on a loan. So contingencies are very, very normal, and you're just bringing that same concept into the real estate investing side. So you have a 10-day contingency. If it gets to day 10 and you haven't sold it for whatever reason, you back out of the contract, there's no harm, no foul. So for beginners, that takes the risk out. You literally, if you do this the right way and have a contingency in your contract and clearly state it, it needs to be transparent. The seller needs to know about it. This is not something you put on them last minute. This is not something you call them on the 11th hour of day 10 and say, sorry, I'm out. They know about it. They're aware of it. You can simply frame it as, hey, give me 10 days to confirm things. I need this contingency. I gave you your $150,000 that you wanted, which is probably more than you wanted to pay to a certain degree. So give me 10 days to make sure this thing is solid and figure it out. I'll communicate with you throughout the whole process. If for whatever reason it doesn't look like it's gonna work, I'll let you know as soon as possible. And you're no worse off than you were 5 days ago, 7 days ago, 10 days ago. So you can go ahead and sell it to somebody else, because more than likely they've already shopped it around a little bit and you're the one that gave them the number that they want, and they'll understand that. So for this purposes, you got under contract for 150 grand, and let's say on day 8 you get it sold to an investor that's going to buy it and either close on it and fix it up and sell it, or buy it and close on it, fix it up and rent it. Regardless, they're the ones transacting. So you get it under contract and for $175,000, and everything goes through. You're on day 45 of the contract. They go to the title company. They pay $175,000. The title company pays the seller their $150,000. In this example, we're not talking about closing costs and the couple grand here or there that may come out of the deal. You're going to net around $25,000 just for connecting the parties. The fact that you had it on a contingency, the fact that you never intended to close, means you weren't looking for a loan, meaning your credit score didn't matter. At the same time, the fact that you didn't put any money in the deal because you didn't close on it and get a loan means you don't need any money. Now, you may need an earnest money deposit. Some sellers will ask for that. Most won't, some will. If you do, 500, 1,000 bucks, whatever it is, you get it back if you back out. And then you get it back at closing if the deal goes through. So it is something that if it is money needed, you get it back no matter what happens, sell it or not, as long as you follow the path of the contingency. This is the power of understanding how to do things and understanding how to do this the right way. Be transparent, be honest. You're helping them out of a situation, and you can make good money on this, because it's not like you made $25,000 just for connecting the distressed seller and the investor. Yes, that's what you ended up doing, but it probably took you months to get to this point and actually get a property and actually negotiate with the seller. And it probably took you months to find the right group of people that you shop your properties to. So you're just getting paid at one time for a lot of work. Not unsimilar to a real estate agent that gets paid to connect a buyer and a seller. It's very similar, except this is on the investing side and most agents work in the retail side. So hopefully that makes sense a little bit. Now let's talk a little bit about what you do on day 10 if you haven't got the property sold. You should be communicating with the seller up until this point, and what you do is you explain the situation, something along the lines of, I gave you that $150,000 that you were asking for. I talked to a couple of partners, got some bids on things, and remember I wanted to buy it for 135, 140 grand. Well, that's because that's what it's worth. You can tell them that you are going to, not perform on the contract. They may get mad. They can't do anything about it if they signed the paperwork and you made them aware of it. But what more than likely happens is you communicate along the way and you're able to get a price reduction. Maybe you could sell it for 150 grand. Maybe that's all you could sell it for. So then go back to the seller and tactfully explain the situation, and maybe you can get it from them for 145 grand. Or 140 grand, just a little bit, so that you're at least making a little spread into all the work you put in. Maybe it's not that 25, 30 grand home run, but at least it is some profit that will allow you to live on, spend some more money on marketing, or just prove that you've been able to do the deal, because not everyone's going to be a home run. Now, no matter what you want to do in the real estate investing game, wholesaling is a great skill to learn. Even if you want to fix and flip, if you're able to understand this process, you're able to understand what a wholesaler that brings you a deal will go through and their process, and understand the importance of giving offers and moving quickly. That's why you'll get more deals. And if you want to source the deals yourself, as a flipper, you're going to get better deals than to have a wholesaler in between you two, if that makes sense. And again, if you're wanting to keep properties as rentals and do the BRRRR method, which is my favorite, if you're able to go direct to seller and work through this process, you're able to get better deals than, again, having a wholesaler in between you. Now let's go over the top 3 lead sources that I think you should implement if you want to get into wholesaling. The first lead source for wholesaling, which is my favorite, is real estate agents. Now, most real estate agents just deal on the retail side, but some of them understand what's a good investment deal looks like. A handyman special, a hoarder house, a pre-foreclosure, a fixer-upper, one of those houses that needs some work that will be hard for them to sell on the retail market. You can go to them, befriend them, explain to them what you do and how you could help them, and they can bring you those deals. And those deals you do get direct to seller pricing. You can go ahead and wholesale on top of that, like we do all the time, or you can keep it down and keep it as a flip. But getting to know agents is a great continual source of investment deals, assuming they're investor-friendly agents. The second way is driving for dollars. This is a very, very underutilized way to find distressed properties because it requires work. You have to get in your car and drive around and look for distressed properties. It's not very hard, but it is time consuming, and most people would rather spend their time scrolling through their phone or watching Severance or a Netflix show. But if you're willing to put a little bit of work, you drive around and look for very, very distressed properties. There's apps like my Deal Pilot app that track you and skip trace the owner's information for free and tell you how much the owner owes on the property. You can click a button and send mail. You can call them, text them, email them. It helps assist you in that process, but you're looking around for distressed properties. And the third way that I would suggest you getting started, probably maybe as a newer investor, would be bandit signs. Those little 2-foot by 3-foot signs that you see on the side of the road, I spelled signs wrong, but that's okay. Those little 2-foot by 3-foot signs you see on the side of the road, political signs, but there's also We Buy Houses. They're either printed or written in Sharpie on there. We Buy Houses with a phone number, there's probably a Google number. They work. So if you're willing to spend the time and energy to put them out, that's a great lead source. They will get you leads, you will get phone calls, and you can usually do that for a few $100. The prices are not bad on those. So those are 3 ways to get into the real estate investing game, specifically wholesaling, specifically with no money, no credit, and no risk. If you're interested in getting into real estate, because right now is one of the best times to get in the game as the market is shifting before it skyrockets, make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and comment any questions you have below, and I will personally answer them. See you on the next one.